everyone, it's Sarah with Ruffles and Rain Boots, and today we are going to be coloring faux fur in a billion different ways. If you'd like to join us, stick around. And as always, please subscribe to Ruffles and Rain Boots, hit that notification button and like so I know that you're here because you will get to see things like this. Look at this color. It is intense and it's coming soon. Okay, so for this one, we are going to focus on a few things everybody has around. We have acrylic craft paint, we have casein paint, which is also called milk paint. These are at every craft store. We have a very thick metallic acrylic that I'm going to be testing out today. And then another one is the fabric, and whether it's fabric, metallic or not, we're going to use that. We're going to use markers. We're going to use your kiddos' watercolors. I love this method. And we're also going to need a paintbrush. I used a flat brush, water, comb, and a slicker brush. I'm also going to use white faux fur, but if you have cream, it could possibly work with a little color transfer there. Okay, so the first one we're going to start out with is milk paint, which is casein protein paint, and it is already watered down. It's already a very liquid paint, so you don't need to add any water unless you're trying to blend colors or do something like that. So I tried two methods, and I'm going to tell you which one works well for each paint. The first one, with this one, I will tell you with pretty much any paint, you're not going to go wrong if you separate the fur. And what I mean is, starting at the back, we're going to be adding our pigment, adding our color right onto this fur. And then towards the edges, I wanted a Mongolian frosted gray look. So I went and added a little bit of water to the existing color at the bottom. And then I'm just basically pulling that color down with a little bit of water so that they get lighter at the ends. And then our next layer, we're just going to split that fur again. We're going to lay it on top, and I'm going in with the lighter colored milk paint. Again, I'm adding a lot of saturation in the center and then pulling it down. And then I keep doing this for each of the layers. I mean, these little tiny pieces, I was done with these in 2 minutes. But once I have all that color down, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add in darker streaks so that I can have a lot of depth and dimension. And you can tell when it's wet, but you can really tell when it's dry. And just so that you all know, I used two different kinds of fur. We used this is the inexpensive craft fur, which I particularly don't like to use, but you can see them side by side. Mongolian is on the right, and they both took color. So you're going to leave those to dry. Next up is watercolor. Now, if you're a fan of Ruffles and Rain Boots, hey, listen, add it onto the top or separate the fur, it's your choice, but everything is controlled with the amount of saturation you're using or the amount of water. So do whatever your heart desires, set it aside to let it dry. Now, the marker method, the best part of this is you can do it a couple different ways. This is a single color blended through the merino wool with a piece of fabric. That's it. And here we're just going to create a cupcake sprinkles beard for a gnome we're working on. And all you have to remember is that you can't undo this. And then you just let it dry. All right, so this is one of my favorites. It's the acrylic paint everybody has in their craft room. I used two colors for a lot of dimension, and it really did come out pretty amazing. So all I did here is I have my colors on the palette there. I'm adding a little bit of water, and then I'm going to take two different colors, and I'm going to keep them separated, and I'm just going to test this method here with the acrylic. I will tell you, hands down, you're going to want to separate the fur. Don't do this with the acrylic paint, because I'll show you later what happens to the center. It's just silly. So what we're going to do is we're going to layer this paint. We're not going to blend this paint so much because we actually do want these two very distinct colors coming through. And when just in your normal brushing, you're going to be blending a little bit. So you see all that white in the middle? That's why we separate the fur and paint it in layers. Just FYI. You can use a wide brush to separate. I use that to separate. I use my paintbrush, the tip of my paintbrush, whatever you want. But either way, you're just going to make sure that all of it's covered. And then you're also going to add in different streaks and depths and dimension. And you're going to set those aside and let them dry. Next up is a single color. And I used both the fabric paint and the metal or metallic, really thick paint, and I used this process for both of them. So I did go in first and I put down an all over color. So I made sure it was a pretty bright, so it has a lot of saturation, but again, I wanted variation. So I brought in a little bit of water, I added all over my color, and then I did the tips a little bit differently, and then I added more paint, and then I added that deep dark section in the center so that it really pops when you have it on on something, whatever you're doing. I don't recommend any of these methods, by the way. If you're doing cosplay or cosplay and you're doing a massive suit, no, you're going to use dye, and I'll show you that soon. But these are really, really great for small craft projects. So we're just going to brush it out. We're going to separate the fur, and then we're going to add our dimension and let it to dry. Now, you can blow dry this or with the blow dryer and set it with heat, but honestly, it's not necessary, and I'm lazy, so I just leave it there. All right, so the next day you can see here, I'm just taking a very wide tooth. This is a cat brush. No, I don't own a cat, but I really like this brush because it's wide. And what it's gonna allow you to do is get any of those big clumps. So you just pull off any transfer. I've barely had any transfer with these methods, meaning I didn't pull out a lot of fur. But I will say you wanna go in and sort of rub between your fingers the big mats, because you will have them where the paint has sort of glop together. Is glop a word? I have no idea. Anyway, so once you go through with the thicker comb, you can, I mean, it looks like fur, but if you look up close, I'm going to show you here, it kind of looks a little ratty. And so if you like that, if you're fine with it, if you want to cut those off, that's fine. You're going to want to clean off your tools and surfaces. I want to be sure to tell you this. Please do not do this on a white surface that you really, really like, because look at what happens. This is every single color, every single method, watercolor, everything will shed that color when you brush it out. Okay, so if you're not okay with the matty pieces like these on the ends and on the sides, just take this slicker brush or a fine tooth comb. Oh my goodness, 30 seconds, and this thing transforms. It becomes, again, this is in particular the Mongolian fur. It becomes so shiny and bright and soft. Oh, it's so beautiful. So I would recommend the two brush method, the thick or the wide comb, and then the thin slicker brush, because this is just amazing. So whether you're using watercolor or you're using marker or you're using acrylic, let me know, what is your favorite method? Just add a comment below. Hey, thanks for joining me. I really appreciate it. Stay tuned for that sneak peek, and please like and subscribe to Ruffles and Rain Boots.